The initial life decision was easy, but soon as I got to the training center, I was in corporate worship upstairs in the main temple. The campus surrounds the main temple where we get together and do corporate worship 5 times a day. And it was in the temple in the very first year, within the very first few months, where my doubts started to arise. I was worshipping, and suddenly this very, very silent, yet very authentic, very silent whisper came into my left ear and saying, "Are you sure you've made the right decision? Are you in the right place?" And it shook me completely, because I remember looking around, everyone really engaged, and me suddenly feeling so isolated. And I looked over the balcony and I started staring just into the distance and really realizing for the first time this question, oh gosh, what have I done? What have I done? So doubts had crept in very, very early on in my walk. So there wasn't a peace about my faith in the faith itself. But there were other matters that were enticing me to just continue on. So the first one was the acknowledgement and the personal relationship with the Guru, who I had access to any time I wanted to. So that was a massive thing. And there was still at that time a belief that he is God. That was the doctrinal belief, that was the theology that we stood on. And because I had access to him whenever I wanted through phone call, or if he was in town I could meet him, that sort of kept me going.
So would it have been as if you were saying to God that you doubted him, if you'd gone to your guru and said, "I'm having doubts about my faith"?
Yes, because I actually did question him on a few occasions.
And how did that go?
It didn't go really well. It didn't go well at all. He was quite stern. He told me not to think too much. He told me that, look, the nature of the mind is to doubt, and these are challenges that you'll find on your walk, and you've just got to keep on going. My questions were, I'm not finding the peace deep in myself, the nourishment deep in myself that I had a picture of in my head, that this is what I would, sort of find. So every time I had a personal meeting with him, he would deflect that question or just tell me to stop thinking, don't overthink, don't question too much. But my doubts then began to grow and grow and grow. But because I had that one-to-one with him, that personal time with him, he was sort of like a father figure, and he had that care and compassion about him. He did have a certain sort of a presence about him as well that sort of filled the gap for that moment, for that time when you're sort of with him. But as soon as you leave the room, that sense of unsettlement, restlessness, that would appear very quickly, very strongly. So that was a struggle in itself. It was a deep struggle that he is God, but why am I not feeling this growth of deep peace, this rest, this joy, or this love? I mean, I'm using those words now, but I didn't know that they existed, those words, with that tangible feeling of what God should be like then. So that was the struggle, and on the other side, my influence really grew. So that helped me numb the doubts. That helped me shut down the doubts, just quieten that voice that kept asking me questions. So I was taken on 2 world tours to get exposure to different cultures, and my influence grew. I was very quickly known as an international speaker, most prominent speaker. So these kind of famous sort of titles, which were quite shallow, and I knew they were shallow, they kept me going. But then I just did more of it to fill that gap, to take out those doubts.
Tune in to the Profile Interview in association with Christianity Magazine every Saturday at 4 p.m. only on Premier Christian Radio, where faith comes to life.